Dear friends, let us solve one more variety of problem in the root locus technique for obtaining the stability of the system. This is module 3 in the subject control engineering with the subject code of 17 ME 73, and module 3 is all about steady state operations, transient response and root locus technique, which helps us in obtaining the stability of the system. Now, this problem is about we have to draw the root locus plot and comment on stability for the open loop transfer function GSHS is equal to k divided by s into s plus 2 into s plus 4 into s plus 6, and we have to also find the value of k for the system to be stable. We have to determine what are the values of k. K is nothing but the constant, and that is nothing but the gain given to the system. And to what value of gain, to what value of input parameter, that is what is determined by k. For what values of k the system is going to be stable, we need to determine that. The procedure in the previous sessions, we have solved about 4 problems on root locus technique. So, I need not go every stage very much in detail. We will just try to see and assess what is the difference in this particular problem. See, this is the given open loop transfer function s into k divided by s into s plus 2 into s plus 4 into s plus 6, and first we will find what are the poles in the given open loop transfer function. Pi represents what are the poles. Pi poles that are, you should equate the denominator factors to 0. So, s is equal to 0, s plus 2 equal to 0, s plus 4 equal to 0, s plus 6 equal to 0. If you do that, then you will obtain s is equal to 0 for this factor, s is equal to minus 2, for this factor s is equal to minus 4, for this factor s is equal to minus 6. These are the poles of the given open loop transfer functions. Then what are the zeros of the given open loop transfer functions? K, you should not consider it as a 0 or a pole. So, we will ignore k, then we will find that there are no factors in the numerator, because of which there are no zeros. That is why what we say, what are the zeros in the given open loop transfer function? We will write it as nil. We will not write 0, otherwise 0 itself become a 0 of the open loop transfer function. That is why we will write nil. There are no zeros in the given open loop transfer function. Now, the number of poles, capital P, the number of poles is, how many poles are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 poles are there. So, number of poles in the given open loop transfer function is 4. Number of zeros, there are no zeros. So, now we will write 0 as an integer 0, because it is the count, it is the number of zeros. Then we will apply the root locus technique rules. There are 10 rules. We will apply those rules one by one. We will have to first find the starting point for the root locus plots. So, rule number 1 is about starting point, and that is also written as k is equal to 0 points. And as we know that all poles are the starting points for the root locus plot. So, poles are the points where the root locus, the branches of root locus will start. That is why all poles. So, starting points are all poles, that is s is equal to 0, minus 2, minus 4, minus 6. That means to say we are going to have 4 branches of root loci, and those 4 branches of root loci are going to start from 0, minus 2, minus 4, minus 6. That means to say we will also have 4 terminating points, 4 finishing points also. So, rule number 2 is about finishing points. So, finishing points, it is also known as k is equal to infinity point, and we know that there are no zeros in the given open loop transfer function. That means there are no finite zeros in the given open loop transfer function. That is why there will be infinite zeros, because when there are 4 starting points, there must be 4 terminating points also. Then terminating points are nothing but the zeros of the given open loop transfer function. And when we have found that there are no zeros in the given open loop transfer function, that means to say the 4 branches of root loci which are emerging from 0, minus 2, minus 4 and minus 6, they are all going to terminate at infinite zeros or infinity. So, we will write it as infinite zeros given by infinity, infinity, infinity and infinity. Then, how many branches of root loci will be there? That is given by n. N is equal to, what we will write is, we know that the number of branches of root loci will be equal to number of poles if the number of poles is greater than the number of zeros, and the number of branches of root loci will be equal to number of zeros if number of zeros is greater than the number of poles. But in the given problem, we know that the number of poles is 4, the number of zeros is nil, because of which what we find that the number of poles is greater than number of zeros. That is why the number of branches of root loci will be equal to the number of poles, that is equal to 4. Then the number of branches terminating at infinity, how many branches of root loci will be terminating at infinity? So that is given by P difference z, n infinity is equal to P difference z, and capital P is number of poles, that is 4, z is number of zeros, that is 0, so 4 minus 0 is 4. So 4 branches of root loci will be terminating at infinity. What it means to say is that there will be 4 branches of root loci which will be existing, and all the 4 of them will be terminating at infinity. Then rule number 4 is about determining the symmetry. If we just draw S plane here roughly just for the assessment, then we will find that a pole is at 0, a pole is at minus 2, a pole is at minus 4, a pole is at minus 6. Then what we will come to know that all the poles, there are only poles in the given open loop transfer function. So all the poles are lying on the real axis only, and we know that the branches of root loci will always travel in pairs. If one branch is above the real axis, then the other branch is going to be below the real axis, but they will be in pairs. So considering that concept, what we can say is, since all the poles are lying on the real axis, the branches of root loci will be symmetric about real axis. That is what has been written here. The root loci will be symmetric about real axis. Reason, we have to write the reason. Since all poles on real axis. Visibility you need to adjust here, because one frame has to have the complete analytics of the given problem, so that while demonstrating or illustrating the plot of root locus, we have to have the complete analytics in the board. That is why visibility has to be adjusted a bit. Then next rule is about the angle of asymptotes, theta k. Theta k is given by 2q plus 1 into 180 degree divided by number of poles minus number of z, where q is equal to 0, 1, 2 up to the modulus of p minus z minus 1. And when we come to know that what is q, then we will find that 0, 1, 2 etc. up to p is number of poles, this is p, number of poles, that is 4, z is number of zeros, that is 0, minus 1 as it is under the modulus. We will come to know that 4 minus 0 minus 1 is 3. That means to say we have to give the values of q as theta 0 has to be calculated with q as 0, theta 1 has to be calculated as q as 1, theta 2 has to be calculated with q as 2, theta 3 has to be calculated with q as 3. Why? Because this means to say 0, 1, 2 etc. up to the modulus of p minus z. Whatever value is attained here, up to that value, it is not that value, up to that value starting from 0. That is how we have to use this. So theta 0, when q is equal to 0, we will find that 2 into 0 plus 1 into 180 by 4 minus 0, we will get 45 degree. Then when q is equal to 1, theta 1 we will get it as 135 degree. Again, when q is equal to 2, theta 2 we get it as 225 degree, and when we apply q is equal to 3, then theta 3 will be 315 degree. Now from this data, very important conclusion or very important inference can be drawn. What? We find that the asymptotic straight lines in all the previous problems in the previous sessions that we have solved, none of the asymptotic straight line was intersecting the imaginary axis and moving to the right hand side of S plane. Because of which, with the concept that the asymptotic straight lines are those lines along with which the branches of root loci are going to travel, since asymptotic straight lines were not traveling beyond the imaginary axis to the right hand side of S plane. Even the root loci were also not traveling to the right hand side of S plane, because of which the system was always going to be stable. Now, here in this problem, if we see one of the line of asymptotes, that is angle of asymptote is 45 degree, then 135 degree, then 225 degree, then 315 degree. That means to say the asymptotic straight lines are going to be at 45 degree. If we draw a 45 degree line, then obviously the asymptotic straight line is going to intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S line. If we draw a line at maybe 315 degree, then we will also find that below the real axis, again the asymptotic straight line is going to travel and intersect the imaginary axis, negative imaginary axis, and move to the right half of S line. And because of which, what we can say is, two branches of root loci, one along 45 degree, the other along 315 degree, those two branches of root loci are going to intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S line. Then as soon as they intersect the imaginary axis, then the system at that instance of time will become unstable. So, considering this, what inference can be drawn from this data is that the rule number 8, that is intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, becomes applicable. We know that the rule number 6 is about centroid. We know that as soon as we come to know there are 4 asymptotic straight lines, and centroid is a point on real axis from where all the asymptotic straight lines are going to emerge. So, where do they emerge from? Where do the asymptotic straight lines emerge from? They emerge from a point on real axis which is called centroid, which is given by sigma pi minus sigma zi divided by p minus z. Pi we know those are the poles, zi we know those are the zeros, capital P is number of poles, capital Z is number of zeros. So, therefore, just substitute the same and get the centroid. So, when we substitute the poles in summation of Pi, then it gives us 0, minus 2, minus 4, minus 6, minus 0 divided by number of poles is 4, number of zeros is 0, we get minus 3. That means to say the asymptotic straight lines are going to emerge from minus 3, that will be on the real axis, that is negative real axis. Then rule number 7, root loci on real axis. Are there any branches of root loci existing on real axis? That is what is to be found from root loci. So, if we just draw here just to find, at 0 there is a pole, at minus 2 there is a pole, at minus 4 there is a pole, at minus 6 there is a pole. Then first we have to find whether the root locus is present between. We will first ignore the first pole or a 0 if it is present, because to the right of that there will be nothing present. So, we will consider minus 2. We will try to see between minus 2 and 0 will there be any root locus present. So, what is the rule? What is the procedure? It says that you just keep your hand here, look to the right and find or count how many zeros and poles are present. If you just see to the right of minus 2, there is only one pole at 0. So, 1 is odd, and when the count to the right of the point before which you are trying to find whether the root locus is present or not, if the count is odd, that means the root locus is present between minus 2 and 0. Come to the next pole that is minus 4. Keep your hand here, look to the right of the minus 4, then you will find that what is the count of poles and zeros? There are 2 poles present, one at minus 2 and one at 0. That means the count is even. When the count is even, to the right of the point from where you are trying to find the presence or absence of root locus, if the count is even, then root locus will not be present. So, between minus 4 and minus 2, the count is even, because of which the root locus is not going to be present. Then come to minus 6. So, again the same concept, To the right, you try to count the poles and zeros, you will find that there are 3 poles, one at -4, one at -2 and one at 0. That means to say the count is going to be odd, and when the count is going to be odd, between -6 and -4, the root locus is present. When the count is odd, then between -6 and -4, the root locus is going to be present. Now, with this particular rule, one more important inference can be drawn. What? See here. Here between -2 and 0, root locus is present. So only here in this segment. Then these two are the poles, they are the starting points. Poles are nothing but the starting points. That means to say, root locus is going to start from this pole and this pole. Then arrow has to be leaving the poles. Arrow has to be leaving the poles because they are the starting points. And to the right of 0, there is no root locus. To the left of -2, there is no root locus. So since root locus is present only between -2 and 0, the arrows will be towards, from 0, the root locus will be towards -2. From -2, the root locus will be towards 0. Then here if you come, again the same principle applies. The root locus is leaving -4 because -4 is a starting point since it's a pole. As well, -6 is a pole, so the root locus is going to start. Then in both the cases, in both the segments of root loci, we will find that the branches of root loci, one starting from 0 and the other starting from -2, they are heading towards one another. When they are heading towards one another, obviously they will collide at a point in the segment and then they will break away. They will break away like this. In the same fashion, between the branch of root loci between -6 and -4, if you just see, again 2 branches of root loci are starting, one from -4, one from -6. They are again heading towards one another. That means they are going to collide at a point and again they are going to break away. What does it mean to say is, between -2 and 0, there is going to be a breakaway point, and between -6 and -4, again there is going to be a breakaway point. So there are 2 points on the negative real axis, one between -2 and 0, the other between -6 and -4. There are going to be 2 breakaway points that are going to be existing. So 2 inferences that you can draw from this rule, that is root loci on real axis. One is that breakaway point, rule number 9, breakaway point or saddle point rule is applicable. That is one inference. And the second inference is, if they are applicable, then where the breakaway point or where the saddle point is going to be existing. Those 2 inferences we can easily draw from here. Now, rule number 8, intersection of root loci on the imaginary axis or with the imaginary axis, right? Intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis. This is the first problem where this rule is becoming applicable. Right? In the previous 4 problems that we have solved during the previous sessions, this rule was not applicable. But here, because the angle of asymptotes is found to be 45 degree, 135 degree, 225 degree and 315 degree, that means the asymptotic straight lines are going to cross the imaginary axis. Because of it, what we can say is, even the branches of root loci are also going to cross the imaginary axis, because of which there will be intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis. That is where rule number 8 is going to be applicable. How? What do we get from this particular rule? We will get on the imaginary axis where exactly the branch of root loci is going to intersect. That is one. So we will get j omega value, the frequency at which the root loci is going to intersect the imaginary axis. We will get that. Then we will also get the value of k. What is k? It is nothing but the gain. What is gain? It is the input that is given to the system. In the design and analysis of any given control system, especially for the engineers, it will become important to investigate what parameter value up till which the system continues to be stable. That is a very important input that is required in the design and analysis for any good control system. So, till what input the system will behave in a stable fashion. I gave the examples of fan also. Till what amount of voltage or current the fan will continue to work in a stable fashion. Beyond which, if I increase the current or power, then the fan assembly will become unstable, and it is going to be a disaster or destruction for the system. So, because of which such parametric knowledge or investigation is very important. So, analytically this is how you are going to assess how much parameter will keep and continue the system to work in a stable fashion. So, how to know this? This is to be known by using, see, 1 plus GS HS equal to 0. If you use this, then you are going to arrive at the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, and you will be able to assess the value of k. You will be able to tell for what value of k the system is going to be stable. Okay. So, 1 plus GSHS equal to 0. Then what I will do here before I get into 1 plus GSHS equal to 0 is, we know that the denominator is s into s plus 2 into s plus 4 into s plus 6. Now, in this rule, when we do 1 plus GSHS is equal to 0, this is only the simplification of the open loop transfer function. We have just simplified it and we have written straight away. Then we will come to know that the equation will be s power 4 plus 12s cube plus 44s square plus 48s plus k equal to 0. Now, what is s? S is nothing but j omega. So, we will replace s by j omega. When we replace s by j omega, and then what is j? It is root minus 1. What is j square? Root minus 1 into root minus 1 is minus 1. J cube is j square into j. J square is minus 1. J, so j cube can be written as minus j. J raised to 4, it is j square into j square, that 1. Then if we substitute the values of j in this equation, then we will end up with one complex function which is given by a real part and an imaginary part. Real part is omega raised to 4 minus 44 omega square plus k, and imaginary part will be minus 12 omega cube plus 48 omega, j will remain. Now, this is where we have to apply our knowledge as well as the conceptual learning. Now, we are trying to find the intersection of root loci with the imaginary. At the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, what will be the value of omega, what will be the value of gain or k, that is what we are trying to find in this particular rule. So, at the intersection, if suppose this is where the root locus is intersecting the imaginary axis, just for example, this is where the root locus is intersecting the imaginary axis, then at this point what will be the real part? What will be the real part? So, because this is in S plane and this will be the real axis, this is positive real axis, this is negative real axis, this is positive imaginary axis, this is negative imaginary axis. Now, considering this is the point where the root locus is intersecting the imaginary axis. So, at the intersection point of the imaginary axis of the root loci with the imaginary axis, what will be the real part? The real part is 0, because along this line the real part is 0, there will only be imaginary part. Along the real axis, the imaginary part will be 0. Along imaginary axis, real part is going to be 0. So, that is what we are going to use here. At the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, the real part is 0, and it means to say that omega raised to 4 minus 44 omega square plus k is 0. If we substitute that condition, 0 plus, then we will write it as it is. Now, when we have got only the imaginary part over here, because of the space insufficiency, I will be continuing the solution over here. So, what I will do is, the imaginary part is being equated to 0, minus 12 omega cube plus 48 omega equal to 0. If we take out omega, we will get 48 minus 12 omega square equal to 0, and then omega can be equated to 0 separately. 48 minus 12 omega square can be equated to 0 separately. Then what we will get is 48 will be equal to 12 omega, and then omega square, 12 omega square. So omega square will be equal to 48 by 12, that will give us 4. Then omega will be equal to, if we eliminate square over there, then what we will get is omega equal to root 4, and omega can be calculated thereafter to be plus or minus 2 radians per second. What does it mean to say plus or minus 2 radians per second? Why we have written plus or minus 2 radians per second is, above real axis, one of the branch of root loci is going to intersect the imaginary axis at plus 2 j 2 omega, because we have found the value of omega. Omega is nothing but j omega, it lies on the imaginary axis, where j omega, that is what is going to be plotted, and omega when it is 2, then at j2 it is going to intersect one of the branch. Then minus 2, plus or minus, right? Plus 2 is above the real axis, that is positive imaginary axis, and minus 2 is along negative imaginary axis. That means to say, along negative imaginary axis at minus j2, one more branch of root loci is going to intersect. That is what it means to say. So intersection, where do the branches of root loci intersect the imaginary axis? We have calculated. One branch will intersect at omega equal to 2 radians. So along positive imaginary axis, when we mark j1, j2, j3, j4, what are those 1, 2, 3 and all? 1, 2, 3 are the omega values. And then along negative imaginary axis, when we mark minus j1, minus j2, minus j3, it means to say those minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 and all, they are all the omega values. So plus or minus 2 means one along positive imaginary axis, the other along negative imaginary axis. That is where the intersection points of two of the branches of root loci with the imaginary axis will exist. Then once we have found the value of omega, then we know that the real part is equal to 0. What is the real part? It is omega raised to 4 minus 44 omega square plus k equal to 0. And now when we have already calculated omega equal to 2 radians per second, we will substitute that, then we will come to know that k is equal to 160. At the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, the value of k is 160. That means the gain is 160. The input parameter value is going to be 160. So at the intersection point, the value of k is 160. So as long as the value of k is less than 160, but obviously greater than 0, because when there is no input, obviously you cannot even imagine about the performance of the system. So above 0, more than 0, but up to 160 as the value of the input parameter, as the value of the gain, as the value of k, the system continues to be stable. And at 160, the root locus is going to intersect the imaginary axis. It will be exactly on the imaginary axis, where the system will be neither stable nor unstable. And then if you further increase the value of k, that means if you further increase the value of k beyond 160, the system becomes totally unstable. So for stability, as a part of the question asked, it is asked to find the value of k for which the system will be stable, then we can definitely comment and conclude that the system is going to be stable for the value of k such as 0 less than k. Obviously when k has to be greater than 0, 0 will be less than k. So 0 less than k less than 160. This is the value at which the system will be stable. Then rule number 9 is about breakaway point. It is applicable as we have found over here in the rule number 7, root loci on real axis. Two breakaway points will be existing. This is given by, this is calculated by using d by ds of GSHS equal to 0. Again, what we have done is we have eliminated the brackets and found s is raised to 4 plus 12s cube plus 44s square plus 48s. This is what we are straight away going to use over here. Then when we differentiate, then we will get the values of s to be, two values of s we are going to get either by trial and error method or by logical calculations using calculator, we will get two values of k. One is S1 is equal to minus 0.76, the other one is S2 is equal to minus 5.24. Obviously, minus 7.76 lies between minus 2 and 0. So, this will minus 0.76 will become BAP1, and one more value has to be between minus 6 and minus 4. So, minus 5.24 will be between minus 6 and minus 4. So, this will become breakaway point 2. So, both the breakaway points are also available for us. Then rule number 10 is about angle of departure or angle of arrival, and since there are no complex poles or zeros present in the given open loop transfer function, this rule is not going to be applicable. Now, let us try to draw the root locus plot when we have already calculated the data or analytics for the entire root locus plot. So, this is S plane, and will be the positive real axis, this will be the negative real axis, this will be the positive imaginary axis, and this will be the negative imaginary axis. Okay. Now, we will try to first mark what are the poles and zeros given. What are the poles? The poles are 0, minus 2, minus 4 and minus 6, and there are no zeros. This is what we have marked over here. At 0 there is a pole, at minus 2 there is a pole, at minus 4 there is a pole, at minus 6 there is a pole. Then the angle of asymptotes, right? So, before we draw the angle of asymptotes, asymptotic straight lines, let us first mark the centroid. Where the centroid exists? The centroid exists at minus 3. So, minus 3 is where the centroid is existing, minus 3. So, from this centroid, we have to draw an asymptotic straight line along 45 degree, along 135 degree, along 225 degree, along 315 degrees. So, one asymptotic straight line from here, from the centroid at 45 degrees. So, one at 45 degree. The other asymptotic straight line has to be drawn at 135 degrees. 135 degrees I have drawn as an asymptotic straight line. One more along 225 degrees. 225 degrees, along 225 degrees I have drawn an asymptotic straight line. Along 315 degrees there is an asymptotic straight line. Along 315 degrees there is an asymptotic straight line. Then root loci is present between minus 2 and 0, minus 6 and minus 4. So, root loci is present between minus 2 and 0, minus 6 and minus 4. And then we note that when this is the segment in which the root locus is present and these two are the poles, obviously they are the starting points, the arrow has to be leaving these poles towards each other, leaving these poles towards each other. Then intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis. The root loci intersects the imaginary axis on positive imaginary axis at plus 2 radians per second and on negative imaginary axis at minus 2 radians per second. So, we will mark the intersection point of the root loci with the imaginary axis at one at plus 2, one at minus 2, because plus 2 is what? Plus 2 radians per second, and this is along imaginary axis. So, along J2 the plus 2 radians per second will fall. So, at J2 you have to mark one intersection point, at minus J2 you have to mark another intersection point. And then breakaway points. One breakaway point exists at points minus 0.6, the other at minus 5.24. So, minus 0.76 may come here. So, what I will do is I will write breakaway point 1, then minus 5.24 exists over here, breakaway point 2 I will mark over here. So, what we have got? These two are the branches of root loci heading towards one another, colliding at 0.76 minus 0.76 minus 5.24. Minus 5.76 is the breakaway point at which these two branches are colliding and they are going to break away. And when they break away, what will happen? They will have to intersect the imaginary axis above the real axis at J2, below the real axis at minus J2. So, what I will do is I will draw a curve, because root loci are the curves. There is a curve. And then what I will do, root locus has to travel along the asymptotic straight line. So after intersecting at J2, I will have to extend it parallel to the asymptotic straight line. And this is going to go till where? Till infinity. Then from this breakaway point, again I will have to draw a curve till -2, minus J2, because this is where the branch of root loci is going to intersect, and then again I will have to extend it parallel to the asymptotic straight line. Till when? The branch of root loci is going to travel till infinity. Similarly, over here from the breakaway point -5.24, same mirror image, because this is just symmetric. So what I will do is, from this breakaway point, I will draw one branch of root loci just as same as here, and then here also I will draw just as same as the other one, and this is also going to be parallel to this asymptotic straight line, and this branch is going to go parallel to this asymptotic straight line. Both of them are going to go till infinity, because of which what we can say is, as we have found out the data, number of branches of root loci terminating at infinity. How many branches of root loci terminating at infinity? 4 branches of root loci. And from the root locus plot, we can see that one branch is terminating at infinity, 2 branch is terminating at infinity, 3 branch is terminating at infinity, and 4th branch is also terminating at infinity. So complete analytics have been obtained and they have been transformed into the root locus plot. And then we have also commented on the stability of the system in the rule number 8, in the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, that where it intersects with the imaginary axis, as well what will be the value of k, what will be the value of gain for which the system is stable. We have found for stability the value of k should be such that 0 less than k less than 160. Dear friends, let us solve problem number 5. The problem is, we have to draw the root locus plot and comment on stability for a unity feedback system. This is to be taken care. Unity feedback system, which is given by the closed loop transfer function Cs by Rs is equal to k divided by s cube into 2s square plus 2s plus k. And we are also supposed to find the value of k for which the system will be stable. Find the value of k for stable system. This is what is the question. There are 2 very important things over here. The problem that is given to us, it is not in open loop transfer function. It is in the closed loop transfer function, that is Cs by Rs. So we will have the first challenge to take up to bring the closed loop transfer function to the open loop transfer function. That is one. And second thing is, we are also supposed to take care about it is unity feedback system. That means Hs will be equal to 1. Now to derive the system to the verge of open loop transfer function, let us see how we can do. See, for a feedback system, Cs by Rs is equal to, what is the formula? It is Gs by 1 plus GSHs. Now in the given problem, it is a unity feedback system, that means Hs will be equal to 1. Therefore Gs by Hs, Cs by Rs is equal to Gs by 1 plus Gs, because Hs will be 1. So this becomes Gs divided by 1 plus Gs. This is what is given to us as k divided by s cube plus 2s square plus 2s plus k. Now if we just cross multiply the numerator, that is Gs, with the denominator on the right hand side, and the denominator of LHS with the right hand side of numerator of LHS, that is k. When we do that, we will arrive at this function. Then what we will do is, we will try to take out k separately, k into Gs separately. So we will be left with s cube plus 2s square plus 2s into Gs plus k into Gs, that is equal to, we are having on the right hand side k into 1 plus Gs. So that gives us k plus k into Gs. Kgs and Kgs, both of them will go away. Then we will be left with this equation, and if we just cross multiply s cube plus 2s square plus 2s with the right hand side, we are going to get Gs is equal to k divided by s cube plus 2s square plus 2s. Now this is in the open loop transfer function state. Why? Because Hs is unity, therefore Gs Hs means Gs into 1, we will be left with only Gs for a unity feedback system. So this is what unity feedback system, Gs open loop transfer function of unity feedback system, Gs is equal to k divided by s cube plus 2s square plus 2s. So we have transformed the transfer function from closed loop transfer function to the open loop transfer function. Then we will take out s common over here, we will be left with s into s square plus 2s plus 2. Now, if we try to obtain the roots for s square plus 2s plus 2, then for s square plus 2s plus 2, s1, 2 can be calculated as minus b minus 2 plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac by 2a. This is the formula what we are going to use. So, minus b means b is 2, so minus 2 plus or minus root of b square means 2 square, 2 square. So, minus 4ac, 4 into a is 1, 1s square. So, a is 1. So, 4 into 1, 4a, c is this part. So, 4 into 1 into 2, 4ac divided by 2a, that is 2 into 1. Then what we will get is minus 2 plus or minus root of minus 4 divided by 2. When we further simplify, we are going to get minus 1 plus or minus j. So, that is how we will get S12 as two values of S we are going to get minus 1 plus j and minus 1 minus j. And for such complex factors, the transfer function, the open loop transfer function should be written as k divided by s into, for this equation it will be s minus s1, s minus s2. This is what is the standard. Then s minus s1 means s minus this value, s minus s2 means s minus this value, minus 1 minus s. This is what it is. Now, once we have arrived at this juncture, then we are ready to go through our common procedure, the normal procedure. So, rule 1, k is equal to 0 points. So, those are all poles are the starting points. So, poles. What are the poles here? Poles Pi. Poles are, as you can see, s is equal to 0, s is equal to minus 1 plus j, s is equal to minus 1 minus j. So, s is equal to 0, comma minus 1 plus j, comma minus 1 minus j. These are the poles. Then, finishing points, there is only a constant in the numerator, so there are no finishing points. So, it is nil. There are no finishing points. Then, how many branches of root loci are there? N is equal to P if number of poles is greater than number of Z. So, number of poles is 3. We know that we haven't written here what are the poles, what are the zeros, how many number of poles, P number of zeros, Z. We haven't written here, but we have gone through many problems now. We can straight away take it. So, number of poles is equal to 3, number of zeros is nil or 0, because of which number of branches of root loci will be equal to the number of poles, that is 3. Since 3 is greater than 0, number of poles is 3, number of zeros is nil or 0. So, 3 is greater than nil, that is why number of branches of root loci will be equal to number of poles, that is 3. The number of branches of root loci terminating at infinity, n infinity, will be equal to P difference Z. Number of poles is 3, number of zeros is 0, because of which 3 branches. So, 3 branches of root loci will be there and all the 3 will be terminating at infinity. This is what it means to say. Symmetry, the root loci is symmetric about a real axis. Is it true? Let us see here. If we just mark here, if this is supposed to be the S plane, one pole is at 0, one pole is at plus j, minus 1 plus j, and the other pole is at minus 1 minus j. If you just see, even though all the poles and zeros are not lying on the real axis, even though all the poles are not lying on the real axis, but still those poles which are lying beyond the real axis, above and below it, even though they are lying beyond the real axis, but still they are lying at equal distances from the real axis, because of which the real axis continues to be the axis of symmetry for the branches of root loci. So, that is why what we can say is the root loci is symmetric about the real axis. The root loci will be symmetric about real axis. Further extension in this comment you can add, because even though two poles are not lying on the real axis, but still they are lying at equal distances from the real axis, because of which the axis of symmetry continues to be the real axis. This is what we can say. Then rule 5, asymptotic straight lines, angle of asymptotes. We know the formula 2q plus 1 into 180 by p minus z. Q is equal to 0, 1, 2, etc. up to modulus of p minus z. What is p? P is number of poles, 3. There are 3 poles. And what is z? It is number of zeros, which is 0 minus 1 as it is. So 3 minus 0 minus 1, it is 2. So modulus of 2. So that means value of q have to be varied from 0, 1, etc., etc. up to the modulus of 2. That is, we have to give 3 values of q, one as 0, the other as 1, the other as 2. So 3 values of q we have to give and calculate thetas. So at q is equal to 0, theta 0 will be equal to 2 into 0 plus 1, because we have substituted q as 0. So 2 into 0 plus 1 into 180 divided by p minus z. P is 3, z is 0. Therefore 2 into 0 is 0, 1 into 180, 180 divided by 3, 180 divided by 3 is 60 degrees. 180 divided by 3 will be 60 degrees. Then, when q is equal to 1, theta 1, 2 into 1 plus 1, 2 into 1 plus 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 into 180 is 540 divided by 3 minus 0, 540 divided by 3, it will be 180 degrees. Then, for q is equal to 2, theta 2, 2 into 2 plus 1 into 180 divided by 3 minus 0, 2 into 2 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5, 5 into 180, 5 into 180 divided by 3, 180 divided by 3 is 60, 5 into 60, it will be 300 degrees. So there are 3 asymptotic straight lines which are going to exist, one along 60 degree, the other one is at 180 degree, and other one is at 300 degree. Now, what important inference we can draw from this rule? See, asymptotic straight line is at 60 degree. What does it mean to say? It means to say that this asymptotic straight line is going to intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S plane. That means rule number 8, intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis is going to be applicable. Why? Because the moment we come to know that the asymptotic straight line is going to intersect the imaginary axis and go to the right half of S plane, the root locus will also approach the asymptotic straight line. The root loci are drawn along the asymptotic straight line, so they are going to intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S plane. Because of which, the moment the root locus intersects the imaginary axis, it becomes just stable or just unstable, and the moment it moves to the right half of S plane, the system becomes unstable. That is why it is important to know where the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis exists and at what frequency it exists and what will be the value of gain or what will be the value of k at which the system intersects the imaginary axis, so that it helps in maintaining those values or designing a system which takes the input less than the input at which the system becomes unstable. Okay. Then when they are moving in 3 directions at 60 degree, 3 asymptotic straight lines move at 60 degree, 180 degree and 300 degree, then where do they emerge from on the real axis? That is what is given by centroid. So centroid is given by sigma, which is given by sigma pi minus sigma summation of zi divided by p minus z. Summation of pi is given by 0 plus, I have to write the poles. There are 3 poles, one is 0, one is minus 1 plus j, the other one is minus 1 minus j, minus, how many zeros? There are no zeros, so 0, zi is nil, divided by number of poles is 3, number of zeros is 0. So what do I get? Minus plus j minus j goes minus 1 becomes minus 2. It gives me minus 2 by 3, that is minus 0.67. So the centroid, the point from where the asymptotic straight lines at 60 degree, 180 degree and 300 degree will be drawn, the point from where it emerges on the real axis, it exists at minus 0.67. Then root loci on real axis. If you just see here, S plane, there is a pole at 0, there is a pole at minus 1 plus j, there is a pole at minus 1 minus j. Then what we can say is, one asymptotic straight line is along 180 degree, and since there are no other poles or zeros, and then the asymptotic straight line is going along 180 degree, that means towards the negative real axis, and there is nothing in between. So root loci lies on the entire negative real axis. So starting point will be 0 and it goes towards the minus infinity on the negative real axis. So because of which, what we can say is, the root loci or the root locus lies on entire negative real axis. Okay. Then rule number 8, it is about finding the intersection point of root loci with the imaginary axis. So if you can just recall from the previous problem, it is to be found out by using 1 plus GSHS equal to 0. So 1 plus GSHS is what? We need not write the poles as it is. We can straight away write this equation itself, s cube plus 2s square plus 2s, k divided by s cube plus 2s square plus 2s. So what we can say is, it is 1 plus GS equal to 0 since HS equal to 1. Okay. So thereafter, what is 1 plus GS equal to 0? 1 plus GS is the given open loop transfer function. This you can use s cube plus 2s square plus 2s straight away. And then when we do that, take LCM, this is the equation we get. This denominator gets multiplied with 0. This is what is the equation we get. Then replace S by j omega. When we replace S by j omega, we get this equation, and then we will substitute, we will separate real part and imaginary part. We substitute real part and imaginary part, and then what we know is, at the intersection of root loci, because this is what is the rule we are trying to find. So at the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, real part will be equal to 0. Obviously real part will be equal to 0 as we know here. So if this is the intersection point, at this point what will be the real part? It will be 0 only. So at the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, real part is equal to 0. When we substitute that, this will be 0. So 0 plus j into 2 omega minus omega cube equal to 0. This is what we are left with. Then what we can see is, j will become 0. We will be left with 2 omega minus omega cube equal to 0. We can equate it separately. We will find omega equal to plus or minus 1.414 radians per second. That means along the positive imaginary axis, the root loci will intersect it at plus 1.414 radians per second, j 1.414 radians per second. And then along negative real axis, the branch of root loci will intersect at minus j 1.414 radians per second. Then when we know that at intersection point real part is equal to 0, real part is what? K minus 2 omega square equal to 0. If we try to find, we will find k as 4. Then we can comment on stability, that for stability, for the system to be stable, k should be less than 4, and k obviously it has to be greater than 0, or 0 has to be less than k. That is what we have written. The range of values for stability for the given system is 0 less than k less than 4. Now rule number 9, that is breakaway point. As we know from rule number 7, there are no branches of root loci colliding with one another on the real axis. So therefore there is no breakaway point or the saddle point that is existing. So because of which, rule number 9 is not going to be applicable. Then rule number 10, angle of departure, is it applicable or not? In this problem, what we have seen is, there are two complex poles present, because of which whenever there are complex poles, obviously they are not going to lie on the real axis or the imaginary axis, they are going to lie in space. So for that the angle of departure or angle of arrival, if they are the zeros, that is to be found out. The angle of departure or the angle of arrival, here since two complex poles are present, we will be using angle of departure. If there would have been complex 0, we should have found out angle of arrival, but here in this problem we need to find only the angle of departure. Now the procedure to find the angle of departure is, so what we have is there are two complex poles for us. One is here -1 plus j, the other is here at -1 minus j. Okay. Now what we will say is we will try to find the angle of departure for one of the complex poles, and since on it there is symmetry, the same angle with opposite sign will be applicable for other complex pole also. So what we will try to find is, we will first try to find the angle of departure for this pole. So what we will do is, first we will name these poles. So what we will do is, there is a pole here at 0. We will name this as pole number 1. We will name this as pole number 2. And we will name this as pole number A. We will try to find the angle of departure for pole number A first. So the procedure for finding the angle of departure for pole number A is, what we will do is, we have to connect the pole for which we are trying to find the angle of departure with all the other poles. So draw a line, connect it with this pole. Draw a line, connect it with this pole. We have connected. Then try to find the angle. Try to find the angle that the line which is connecting this pole with the pole for which we are trying to find the angle of departure. We will try to find the angle. So what we will say, phi P1. We will name this as P1. We will name this as P2. Phi P1 try to find phi P1, how much it is, and then try to find phi P2. Pole 1, we will name this as pole 1, we will name this as pole 2, then we will connect these two poles with pole A. Then we will try to find the angle those lines are making with the horizontal. Now phi P1 we will try to find first, phi P1. What is phi P1? What is this angle? This angle, if I name this angle as theta, then phi P1 will be equal to, the entire angle is 180 degree. 180 degree. If I subtract theta from 180 degree, I will get phi P1. So 180 degree minus theta. Then 180 degree minus, what is theta? What is theta? If I take tan, tan is nothing but opposite side by adjacent side. What is opposite side? Plus 1. Tan inverse of opposite side is this one. So plus 1. Adjacent side for this angle is this one. This is also 1. So 1 by 1. If you just see over here, this is -1 plus j. -1 plus j means along x-axis it is 1, along y-axis also it is 1. That means opposite side to the angle theta is 1, adjacent to the angle theta is also 1. So tan inverse of 1 by 1, opposite side by adjacent side. This will give me how much? 180 degree minus tan inverse of 1 by 1 is 180 degree minus 45 degree. Tan inverse of 1 by 1 is 45 degree. Here I am going to get it as 135 degree. Then I will have to find phi P2 also. Phi P2. What is phi P2? As you can see, it is 90 degrees. Straight away you can write 90 degrees. Then summation of phi P's is phi P1 plus phi P2, that is 135 degree plus 90 degrees, that is 225 degrees. This is what you will get. Then phi Z, there is nothing, so nil. Phi Z is nil. So summation phi Z will also be nil, because there are no zeros, obviously phi Z will not be existing. Then phi is given by sigma phi P minus sigma phi Z, that is given by 225 degrees minus 0, that is 225 degrees only. Then now what we find is phi, the angle of departure for the pole A. This A is given by the formula is given by the formula 180 degree minus 5, and which is given by 180 degree minus 225 degree. This is given by minus 45 degrees. The angle of departure for pole A, angle of departure of what? Angle of departure of the branch of root loci from pole A. This is how you have to understand this. Angle of departure of branch of root loci which is starting from pole A is minus 45 degrees. So that means from this pole, the root locus, the branch of root locus is going to leave, because this is a starting point, it has to leave. So the branch of root locus will leave the pole A at an angle of minus 45 degrees. This is what it means to say. And therefore, since there is symmetry, what we can say is, similarly, since symmetry phi d b or phi d p2 will be equal to plus 45 degrees. Now all the 10 rules are over. We have calculated the analytics for all the 10 rules. Except breakaway point, all the other 9 rules are applicable. Now, we will try to draw the root locus plot. In the S plane. At 0 there is a pole. Then at minus 1 plus j there is a pole. At minus 1 minus j there is a pole. And then what we can see here is asymptotic straight lines are from the centroid 0.67. Centroid is at 0.67. Centroid is at 0.67. One asymptotic straight line is at 60 degrees. So, one asymptotic straight line is at 60 degrees. The other is at 180 degree. So, along 180 degree it is already there. So, along 300 degrees there is one more asymptotic straight line. Now, after we have used the centroid and we have drawn the asymptotic straight lines, then root loci, where the root loci will be existing? On the entire negative real axis, because 180 degree is the asymptotic straight line. So, along the entire negative real axis, the root loci will be existing. Since this is a pole, it is a starting point, so arrow will be leaving the pole, that is 0. And till when it goes? On the entire negative real axis means it goes on till infinity. So we can conclude already one branch of root loci is terminating at infinity. Then after rule number 7, rule number 8, intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis. So where the branch of root loci will be intersecting with the imaginary, because as soon as we see asymptotic straight line along 60 degrees and 300 degrees, it means the branch of root loci is also going to travel along 60 degree and 300 degree, because of which it is going to intersect the imaginary axis. That is why rule number 8 became applicable. So where do they intersect? Where do the branch of root loci will intersect? So the branch of root loci, when we have calculated omega is equal to plus or minus 1.414, that means j omega value is 1.414. So j 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 are the omega values. So 1.414 plus 1.414 lies over here. That means the branch of root loci intersects the imaginary axis over here at 1.414 over here, j 1.414. Then on the negative imaginary axis, again the branch of root loci is going to intersect the imaginary axis at minus j 1.414. Breakaway point is not applicable, so it is not existing. The angle of departure, so there are two complex poles, so obviously angle of departure for those two complex poles should be calculated. That is calculated to be, for this pole, the angle of departure is calculated to be minus 45 degrees. So what we will be doing is, we will first draw a horizontal line from this pole and then keep the protractor inverted and then calculate 0, minus 10, minus 20, minus 30 as such, and draw a line at minus 45 degrees, minus 45 degrees. Then once you draw a line at minus 45 degrees, then from this line we know that root locus will travel parallel to the asymptotic straight line. Draw a straight line parallel to the asymptotic straight line. Then where minus 45 degree line and where a line parallel to this asymptotic straight line meet, right, from there the turn will take place. So how the root locus will go is, they will start here at minus 45 degrees, and then we will not draw the corner because the asymptotic straight lines are the curves. So we will take a small curve here itself and we will make them go parallel to the asymptotic straight line by intersecting the imaginary axis at J1.414. Similarly, for this complex pole, the angle of departure is found to be plus 45 degree. So draw a straight line, count 0, 10, 20, 30, 45 and then draw a line at 45 degrees. Once you draw a line at 45 degrees, again you have already marked the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis as minus J1.414. So draw a line parallel to this asymptotic straight line. Then from there, what you can do is, you can start the root locus from this pole, take a small curve because it is a curve, and then draw a line, go parallel to the asymptotic straight line. Okay, then these two are the poles, so they are the starting points for root loci. So arrow should be leaving them, and then these two branches, where they are going? They are going till infinity. What does it mean to say? All the three branches of root loci are going to terminate at infinity. That is one branch, second branch and third branch. All the three branches of root loci are going to terminate at infinity. So this is what is the root locus plot, and this is exactly the illustration of whatever analytics we have found out to draw the root locus plot. And we have also commented on the stability of the system, that the branches of root loci will intersect the imaginary axis at plus J1.414 and minus J1.414, and that means to say, until some value the system is going to be stable, beyond which it becomes unstable. What is that value of input parameter? That is also found out to be the value of k. It has to be less than 4. That means for stability, k has to be greater than 0 and less than 4. This is what is the condition for stability. Thank you.